Good afternoon and welcome to World at Noon on the Osrc television. I am Oyewumi Ayinigara. Our former Deputy Governor of Ondo State, Mr. Ajayi Agbola, has won the 2024 PDP governorship primary election. Agbola polled 264 votes to beat 6 other aspirants, with his member, Kolade Akinjo, securing 157 votes. Osrc's Saeed Aribisala reports that a total of 621 delegates from across the 18 local government areas of the state participated in the election.
On the D-Day for the primary election of the People's Democratic Party in Ondo State, the venue of the exercise, the International Culture and Event Center, the Dome, was a convergence point for delegates from across the state who will elect the party's flag bearer for the November 2024 governorship poll. In attendance also are officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission led by the State Resident Electoral Commissioner, Mrs. Toyin Babalola, security agencies, journalists and observers. Chairman of the 7-man election committee and Deputy Governor of Bayelsa State, Lawrence Erujako, addresses journalists pledging to oversee a transparent process.
The aspirants are in high spirits and they've all assured me that they will agree to work together for whoever emerges as a candidate, because it's not the ants that saw the sugar that is the problem. It's how the sugar can be taken home. That's the problem of the ants. And so the problem of our party is how we can get power back from the APC that has been taking over power from us for the past 8 years. So we are expecting a very transparent, free, fair, credible and rancor-free elections. And I've gotten the commitment of all the aspirants that they will abide by the outcome, and we're going to make it as transparent as possible.
The accreditation for the 627 delegates from the 203 wards in the state to participate began, with the party faithful subjected to vetting by officials of the committee one after another. After a 2-layered accreditation process, the delegate filed into the auditorium to cast their ballot and thereafter depart the venue. Some of the delegates commended the process, describing it as peaceful and worth the effort.
Peaceful, well organized. These are the ethics of democracy we want.
The process has been very, very credible, very open, and we just believe that the best candidate should win.
Sorting of the vote cast into the 10 ballot boxes set aside for the exercise then commenced. The election committee began the counting of the votes under the watchful eyes of the aspirants and their agents. After the process, the returning officer announced former Deputy Governor Agbola Ajayi as winner of the primary election.
Agbola, after the highest number of votes, is hereby declared the winner of the primary and hereby declared the candidate of the people of the Democratic Party for the November 2024 election.
Agbola Ajayi defeated 6 other governorship aspirants to clinch the PDP ticket with 264 votes out of the 621 accredited votes, making 42% of the total votes. Kolade Akinjo polled 157 votes, Akinboye Bamidele polled 24 votes, Odeayebon Tubosun Arebua scored 2 votes, Shola Ebisheni scored 99 votes, Adeolu Akinwumi polled 64 votes, Bamidele Akinboye 24 votes, and John Olamafo polled 9 votes.
It's a victory for all of us.
Now that the flag bearer of the opposition party has emerged, the task of strategizing for the main election will now be the utmost priority of the People's Democratic Party. Saheed Aribisala, Osrc News.
Amidst concerns over the mishandling of naira notes in Nigeria, recent trend reveals a persistent disregard for the sanctity of the nation's legal tender. Despite legal provisions outlined in the CBN Act, individuals continue to engage in activities such as dancing on, staining, mutilating, and even selling the nation's currency. Omoriola Nwichi was inaugurated in the state capital to fill the polls of Nigerians on the increasing mishandling of the naira and the need to protect its sanctity.
Squeezing money is not okay. If you are squeezing money, yeah, that is money abuse.
We must respect our money. We must do it very well.
Báyìí ní tèmi báyìí mo tò sí bẹ́ẹ̀bẹ́ẹ́ ni ìṣe pé bóyá mo rún mọ́ ẹni tó bá dẹ̀ fẹ́ fún mi lówó tó bá ti rún mọ́ mi lọ́wọ́ mi ní gbà lọ́wọ́ ẹ̀ mà ní kó nà kó jẹ́ kí n rí.
Handle it very well. We don't need to handle it anyhow because it is our naira. And if we abuse it, it means we are abusing our country.
Despite the fact that some residents of Akure, the Ondo State capital, are aware of the rules guiding the nation's legal tender, the naira, many, especially traders, disregard these rules and mishandle the naira. Spraying, dancing, and stamping of the naira banknotes in parties, sales, the notes, mutilation, as well as writing of the nation's currency are among ways in which Nigerians disregard the sanctity of the legal tender. In line with CBN Act Section 21 and Section 20, subsection 5, those found guilty of abusing the naira would face the wrath of the law. A legal practitioner, Rotimi Olorunfemi, confirmed that abuse of naira is a grievous offense which comes with dire consequences.
They have a policy to maintain that. So it is that policy that the central bank is working on. That is what even informed the inclusion of that particular section to punish those who abuse the naira in the act. It's not a law. And the EFCC, being the body charged with protecting economy or protecting and fighting economic and financial crime, is saddled with the responsibility of giving effect to that provision of the CBN Act.
A financial expert, Adeola Imane, who highlighted some potential consequences following the mishandling of the naira, said the currency is expected to remain in circulation for a specific number of years before being faded out.
The purpose of wallets, for those who cannot keep wallets, can keep in a purse, or even if you put it in your pocket, you don't have to squeeze, and because you reduce the market value or the longevity of that note the moment you handle it anyhow. When the country is supposed to have it in circulation for 20 years, we cannot have it up to 10 years. Then we are spending our hard-earned naira again to go and mint or reprint, which is actually costing the country a whole lot of money. So if we are saying we are managing our economy, it should be on all sides. Everybody has a duty to that.
For the general public, what is the level of their awareness of the rules guiding the handling of the naira and implications of going against those rules? Director, National Orientation Agency, Ondo State, Adelayo Adefolalu, confirmed that the agency is always out to sensitize the general public on the best way to live a good life, including proper handling of the nation's legal tender.
We carry out sensitization. It's a continuous one. We'll be doing this yearly, periodically. In fact, September 16, every September 16 of every year has been set aside to commemorate the date the naira or the national symbol was signed into law, as far as the flag. 1960 September, it was the flag was signed into law. So, and the flag, as you know, is part of the national symbols. So we go around to sensitize our people that all these national symbols, be it the naira, the passports, the national anthem, the coat of arms, even the ID card are national symbols. So we must respect them and regard them as such.
Reacting to the recent prosecution of a Nigerian cross-dresser, Idris Okuneye, popularly called Bobrisky, the respondents referred to his prosecution as a lesson to erring Nigerians, saying the need for stringent enforcement of these laws is necessary.
Now, law enforcement agencies or EFCC in particular had to go beyond Bobrisky to narrow this down, because the moment when you see people packing a pack of naira, splashing it and people marching on it, and before you know it, that money has almost turned out of.
I think this case should be a lesson to all of us. It should be a local classicus to Nigerians that naira abuse by spraying parties is bad. Just because you want to show kind of ego. So
it will serve as a deterrent to others, as a warning to others to desist, to shun the habit of misusing or mutilating the naira.
The EFCC has taken this further by arraigning a popular Nigerian celebrity, Pascal Okechukwu, better known as Cubana, chief priest, before a federal high court in Lagos State. Okechukwu is facing 3 counts of allegedly spraying and tampering with the Naira at a special event, contrary to the provisions of the Central Bank Act of 2007. With ongoing investigations by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission into alleged cases of Naira abuse, it remains paramount for citizens to heed the call for adherence to regulations governing the nation's currency. Omoyola Humbiji, Osrc News.
President Bola Tinubu says Nigeria is well positioned to power the clean energy future of Europe and the world with its high-grade lithium deposits. The president, who spoke during a meeting with Prime Minister Mark Rutte of the Netherlands at his official residence, said Nigeria offers immense opportunities across a whole of sectors and that its administration is deepening reforms to enhance the investment climate. In a statement by the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Anjure Igalali, President Tinubu said Nigeria seeks robust, balanced, and mutually beneficial partnerships to add value in areas like solid minerals. He asserted that Nigerians have tremendous confidence in themselves and that his confidence in the Nigerian people gave him the courage to make difficult decisions on their behalf, giving his full awareness of the need to provide Nigerians with the long-term tools they need to succeed. The Prime Minister of the Netherlands noted that President Tinubu's economic reforms have engendered greater confidence in the Nigerian economy by international investors and that Dutch investors had activated another set of $250 million worth of new investment over the next few months, including $100 million investment in a waste-to-wealth industrial facility in Lagos State. The Trade Union Congress TUC of Nigeria has frowned at the non-completion of negotiations of a new minimum wage and urged the federal government to fast action on that. TUC President Comrade Festus Osifo, who made the call while briefing journalists after the National Executive Council (NEC) of the Labour Movement ruled out the possibility of having a new minimum wage in place before the end of May. Osifo also lamented that some states in the Niger Delta region that collect huge sums of money from the Federation account have not paid neither the wage awards or palliatives to their workers, accusing Delta, Imo, Benue as the worst culprit. The union demands that the Committee of Minimum Wage should hasten their activities so that a new minimum wage will be put in place. Comrade Osifo also called on the review of obsolete labor laws in the country, noting that all attempts to get the 9th National Assembly to pass the labor law did not materialize. Nigeria joined the rest of the world to commemorate World Malaria Day on Thursday, with patients lamenting about 23% rise in the cost of anti-malaria medications between November 2020 and April 2024. Reports showed that prices of some anti-malaria drugs increased between 12% and 23% from November 2023 to April 2024. In 2023, the former Minister of Health, Dr. Osagi Henry, said an estimated 55 million cases of malaria and nearly 90,000 malaria deaths occur each year in Nigeria. Henry noted that the economic burden of malaria in Nigeria was estimated at $1.6 billion in 2022 and may increase to about $2.8 billion in 2030. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization has said malaria remains a serious global health challenge that takes its heaviest toll on the most vulnerable. The global health body noted that there is a need to strengthen and step up support for this population as the best way to get back on track to achieve the global malaria targets. The Nigerian Navy says it has completed arrangements to relocate the Naval Training Command headquarters to Oni in Rivers State. The Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ikechukwu Ogala, disclosed this when he led a delegation of top officials of Naval High Command on a courtesy visit to the Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, at Government House, Port Harcourt, yesterday. Ogala described that the Nigerian Navy and Rivers State as conjoined twins who cannot do without each other. Ogala said the Navy had in recent times made commendable strides in its fight against crimes following a charge by President Bola Tinubu. He said the Nigerian Navy under his watch had impounded 14 vessels caught with stolen crude oil, adding that several arrests were made. The Minister of Interior, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, yesterday said government would relocate lots of correctional centers to create better place, security, and better infrastructure. The minister made a pledge when he visited Suleja Medium Security Custodial Center, where 119 inmates escaped following a rainstorm that damaged the facility on Wednesday. In a statement issued in Abuja by the Director of Press and Public Relations of the Ministry, Ozoya Imoyimi, the minister said it was imperative to relocate a lot of the correctional centers to conducive environment. According to him, the ministry is already working behind the scene to fashion out a correctional system that would work for all. Mr. Tunji-Ojo assured that such incident would not happen again in any other facility across the country. The ancient town of Akunga was thrown into mourning earlier today as a fatal accident allegedly claimed 3 lives. Details about the accident are still sketchy, but it was learned that 3 lives were lost and 2 were siblings. It was gathered that the private vehicle claimed to belong to a Yahoo boy, which ran into the victims and was burnt by Arab youth of the town. We'll bring you more details later. UN peacekeepers have begun their departure from the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo. The first bases are closed in South Kivu province, but there are fears about the government's ability to fill in the vacuum. Omoshiola Adesoye has the detail.
Drawing down a decades-long mission, Pakistani peacekeepers removed the UN flag and raised the Democratic Republic of Congo colors. This UN base in Bukavu is one of 14 in South Kivu province set to close by the end of April. The Eastern Congo peacekeeping mission, known as MONUSCO, is ending this year at the request of government. The woman leading that mission made it clear what that means.
The primary responsibility for protection of civilians lies with the government of DRC, and this is where they have to turn in terms of demanding that their safety and security is taken care of by those who have the primary responsibility.
The UN's presence has become increasingly unpopular here in recent years. It's accused of failing to protect civilians from armed groups, but aid agencies and many locals worry the Congolese forces aren't ready to replace some 15,000 UN forces.
We are regretting this decision of the government at this particular moment, pushing MONUSCO to withdraw from the country. We know that they're supposed to leave one day, but to be honest, I don't think our government is ready to take sole responsibility in terms of security. It's not possible to believe that.
More than 1.5 million internally displaced people live in 9 camps across South Kivu province. Many have fled violence in neighboring North Kivu, where the government has struggled to hold back advances by M23 rebel group. But the government still insists it should be solely responsible for security.
Congo is rising, is taking its own responsibility. And I want to assure everybody here that Congo will take over, has taken its responsibility, and they will assume it responsibly as a government to provide the security and the peace and also protection to its people.
Many people here in Eastern DRC will be happy to see UN forces leave, but the violence that's plagued the region for decades does not seem likely to end soon. Omoshiola Adesoye, Osrc News.
Ukraine's Agriculture Minister Mykola Osrc has been detained on suspicion of being involved in a multi-million-dollar land grab scheme involving state property, according to prosecutors. An anti-corruption court ordered Osrc to be held in custody until June 24 with bail set at $1.9 million. Prosecutors said on Friday or today he could face up to 12 years in jail if convicted. Osrc is accused of illegally seizing state-owned land worth 291 million hryvnias and trying to obtain other land worth $4.8 million between 2017 and 2021. Osrc, who owned several farming businesses, was elected to Ukraine's parliament in 2019. Students and faculty members from universities across the United States are continuing to protest in support of Palestine. They are demanding their universities hold financial ties with Israel and divest from companies, they say, enable the war of Gaza. More than 550 students have been arrested in the last week. Kemisola Ojomo has detail.
What do you say? The standoff at universities across the United States has forced a national confrontation over U.S. policy on Israel and its war on Gaza. The national divide is reflected at the epicenter of the protest movement on New York's Columbia University campus. Israeli flags and Palestinian flags making the conflict half a world away. Demonstrators say despite hundreds of arrests here and across the country and the university's calls for them to leave, they will remain in their encampment. They are demanding the university divest from investment with ties to Israel and its war on Gaza.
We are calling upon Columbia University to divest, disclose, and provide amnesty for all students and faculty disciplined in the movement for Palestinian liberation. Those are our central demands, and until those are met, we will not be going anywhere. We will continue to protest.
Muslim American Congresswoman Iman Omar voiced a support for the demonstrators inside their encampment on Thursday.
I mean, young people have always pushed our government to do better, whether it was through the civil rights movement, whether it's been to end the Vietnam War. And I think that they are on the right side of history in pushing our country to not stay complacent in the genocide that's taking place in Gaza.
A sea of new Israeli flags silently appeared this week, meters from the students' zone of occupation that has drawn the eyes of the world, where a lone counter-protester condemned the demonstration.
This hate has to stop! Jewish and Israeli students are not here to ask for your pity, but as leaders, to stand against a radical flame of hate and racism. This is a tipping point in history.
The protests and tent encampments have spread from coast to coast, from New York to suburban Chicago's Northwestern universities to Harvard in Cambridge, Massachusetts to the University of New Mexico, and dozens of campuses in between. Students and Columbia University have started a national conversation. As the clock ticks down to the final weeks of classes, universities across the U.S. are deciding whether to hold graduation ceremonies, punctuated by encamped protesters' calls for justice. Kemisola Ojomo, Osrc News.
Haiti has sworn in a transitional governing council after a month of gun violence, which forced Prime Minister Ariel Henry to resign. The ceremony was held at the Prime Minister's office rather than the presidential palace, as police failed to gain control of the area around the compound. Omoshinola Adesoye Ajayi brings us more.
In Haiti's capital Port-au-Prince, a ceremony to swear in a new transitional presidential council was interrupted by the sounds of heavy gunfire on Thursday. Members of the new council vowed to rein in the gang-related violence that has pushed the country to the brink of social collapse in recent months.
In the face of this unprecedented crisis, the entire population has recognized the urgency and necessity of taking a firm grip on the situation to pull our country out of the spiral of despair and destruction.
Outside the walls of the ceremony, gang members armed with automatic weapons exchanged gunfire with police.
Armed criminals roaming the streets freely, often overpowering the police, is a scene that has become all too common in the city. At least 2 people were killed during the fighting on Thursday. This woman says her son was caught in the crossfire and killed. She adds that there are no safe places left in the country.
He was selling water, he saw the police, he ran. He returned to the water van. He was shot in the leg, the police shot him many times in his stomach and back. I don't know what he did to deserve death. In the area where he grew up, everyone knew he was not a member of any gangs.
International observers have applauded the successful swearing-in of the Transitional Council, some calling it a turning point for a crisis that has left more than 2,005 people dead since the start of the year. One of the first orders of business of Haiti's new Transitional Council was to name an interim Prime Minister, Michel Patrick Boyvet, a former finance minister who has taken the place of Prime Minister Ariel, who formalized his resignation earlier in the day.
The general interest should be at the center of all concerns and public decisions. And I invite all compatriots to work towards strengthening and consolidating what has been achieved to contribute to the recovery of our beloved Haiti.
Though Asian gang leaders have promised to derail the efforts of the new transitional body, council members say plans are in motion for the deployment of an international security force led by the government of Kenya to help restore law and order in Haiti. Omoshiliola Adesoya Ajayi, Osrc News.
And that's World at Noon on Osrc Television. Thank you very much for your time. Do enjoy the rest of your day. Good afternoon.